The Rams are tied for first place in the NFC West. Never mind, they're the only team in the NFL that hasn't scored a touchdown. With the Los Angeles Times, this is Gary Klein. I'm Lindsey Thiry, and the challenge continues for the Rams this week. They'll head down to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Rams coach Jeff Fisher, he said he found a box. It was full of touchdowns. Gary, none of those touchdowns, however, are from Case Keenum this season.
None from this season, but there were several from last season's game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think Fisher, trying to keep the mood light around the practice field, he had the offensive players come into the end zone. They all touched the ball. He said, this is what it feels like to be in the end zone. So they know they're under pressure. Case Keenum knows he's under pressure. Offensive coordinator Rob Boris knows they're all being looked at. They've got to start scoring.
How much pressure is there for Todd Gurley? He's really the focal point of this offense, and he hasn't done much this season either.
No, he's had a very slow start. The San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks loaded that box. They're daring the Rams to try and beat them with something other than Gurley. So he has not gotten off to the kind of start that everyone envisioned. It's imperative that he does, not only to get the rushing yards, but also to open up the passing game with play-action passes.
The Rams' front seven looked pretty strong against the Seahawks. Their secondary, they're still a bit hobbled. E.J. Gaines has returned to practice in a limited capacity, but who knew that LaMarcus Joyner's been playing through a broken toe?
Joyner played very well against the Seahawks, but really the Rams' issue is at that outside corner spot. Now, Troy Hill came in place of Cody Sensabaugh against the Seahawks, and Russell Wilson went right after him. He expects the same thing to happen from Jameis Winston. If Hill is in there at the outside opposite Trumaine Johnson, that's a vulnerability, and the Rams are going to have to get a significant pass rush to try and offset Winston.
Jeff Fisher is not tired of getting asked about Jared Goff. He's the #1 pick, and of course, when they face the Buccaneers, they're going to go against last season's #1 pick, Jameis Winston. But Jared Goff, he'll still be the #2 guy.
We won't see that matchup. It looked like it was going to be a marquee kind of deal. Jameis Winston, the #1 pick from a year before, and Jared Goff for the Rams. We all know it hasn't played out that way. But there's going to come a point in this season where the Rams are going to have to decide when they're going to play Jared Goff. And whether it comes at some point in this game or sometime down the line, eventually they're going to have to pull the switch.
The Rams changed their travel schedule just a little bit, going to the East Coast. It's a 3-hour time difference. They'll leave on Friday. They're going to have to get used to this road thing, though, because they're going to be away from home quite a bit.
5 out of their first 7 games are on the road. That doesn't even include the trip where they're the home team in London against the New York Giants.
So far away.
But this is a team that's going to be on the road, I think, for more than 36,000 miles. They really don't have any consecutive home games until they get to the end of their schedule. So the Rams are up against it. As you mentioned, they're in first place in the NFC West. It's a crowded field there, but they need a victory on the road.
Gary, I'm so happy for you that you're collecting those frequent flyer miles. All right, both Gary and myself will be in Tampa Bay. Keep it on the Los Angeles Times for the latest on the Rams.